Jake Murphy stood at the entrance of the massive dining hall and felt his breath catch in his throat. The room was bigger than any stadium he had ever seen back on Earth. Thousands of seats filled the space, and creatures from across the galaxy sat eating their meals. Some had scales, others had fur, and some looked like they were made of pure light. Jake had only been at the Galactic Unity Academy for 3 hours, and already his mind was spinning. "Come on, man. Let's grab some food before all the good stuff is gone," Ben Carter said, nudging Jake's shoulder. Ben was Jake's roommate, another human from Earth. He seemed to handle all the alien species better than Jake did. They walked through the food line. Jake picked up his tray and looked at the options. Most of it was strange. There were glowing cubes, purple liquids, and something that moved on its own. But at the end of the line, there was a small station with Earth food. Jake felt relieved. He picked up a sandwich, some fruit, and a bottle of water. The two humans looked for a place to sit. The dining hall was loud with hundreds of different languages mixing together. Jake's translator earpiece worked hard to keep up, but sometimes it just buzzed with confusion. "There." Ben pointed to an empty table near the corner. They started walking toward it. That was when Jake saw her. She sat alone at a table meant for 8 people. Her skin was a beautiful crystalline blue that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Her eyes were silver, like mirrors, and her hair was white as snow. She wore a uniform like everyone else, but something about the way she sat made her look different. Important. Alone. Jake noticed that other students walked past her table without stopping. They looked at her, whispered to each other, and kept moving. The space around her seemed empty, like an invisible wall kept everyone away. "Dude, that's Princess Zara," Ben whispered. "She's from the Valexian Empire. My orientation guide said they're one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. You don't just walk up to someone like that." Jake frowned.
"She looks lonely," Ben laughed.
"She's royalty. She probably wants to be alone." They sat at their table and started eating. But Jake kept glancing over at the princess. She was eating something that looked like gray paste from a bowl. She ate slowly, mechanically, like it was a chore. Her silver eyes looked distant, sad even. Jake looked down at his sandwich. It was turkey and cheese with lettuce and tomato. His mom had taught him how to make it just right. Back home, food was something you shared with people you cared about. Sunday dinners, birthday parties, barbecues with neighbors. Food brought people together. Before he could think too much about it, Jake stood up. "What are you doing?" Ben asked, his eyes wide. "I'll be right back," Jake said. He picked up his tray and walked toward the princess's table. The dining hall seemed to get quieter as he moved. Or maybe that was just in his head. Jake's heart pounded, but he kept walking. When he reached her table, he stopped. "Hi," Jake said, smiling. "Mind if I sit here?" Princess Zara looked up at him. Her silver eyes went wide with surprise. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she nodded slowly. Jake sat down across from her. He could feel hundreds of eyes watching them now. The whispers grew louder. "I'm Jake," he said. "Jake Murphy. I'm from Earth." "I know what you are," she said softly. Her voice was musical with an accent Jake couldn't place. "Your species just joined the council." "Yeah, we're pretty new to all this," Jake said. He looked at her bowl of gray paste and then at his sandwich. "Is that good?" Zara looked at her food. "It is nutritionally complete. It provides all necessary sustenance, but is it good?" Jake asked again. She seemed confused by the question. "It serves its purpose." Jake picked up his sandwich and cut it in half with his knife. Then he put one half on a napkin and slid it across the table to her. "Here, try this instead." The dining hall went completely silent. Even the translator earpieces seemed to stop buzzing. Zara stared at the sandwich half like Jake had just offered her a bomb. I cannot accept this," she said. "Why not?" Jake asked. "I've got plenty. And that paste looks awful, to be honest." "You do not understand," Zara said, her voice barely a whisper. "I am Princess Zara of the Valexian Empire." You are human," Jake finished. "I know. But you're sitting here alone, and I thought maybe you'd like some company, and some real food." Zara looked at the sandwich, then at Jake, then back at the sandwich. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and picked it up. She examined it closely, smelling it. "What is it?" she asked. "Turkey sandwich. It's got cheese, lettuce, and tomato. My mom's recipe." Zara took a small bite. Her eyes widened. She chewed slowly, and something changed in her expression. It softened. She took another bite. "This is..." She paused, searching for words. "This has flavor. Multiple flavors. They work together," Jake smiled. Yeah, that's kind of the point of cooking. They ate in silence for a moment. Jake munched on his half while Zara carefully finished hers. She seemed to savor every bite. Then she leaned forward close enough that only Jake could hear her. Her silver eyes locked onto his. "You're different," she whispered. "Your species. You don't feel the hierarchies, do you?" Jake blinked. Hierarchies? The social structures. The ranks, the distance between beings. She glanced around the dining hall. Everyone here knows their place. They know who stands above and who stands below. But you... She looked back at him with wonder in her eyes. "You just saw someone sitting alone and decided to share your food." "Well, yeah," Jake said, confused. "Is that weird?" Before Zara could answer, heavy footsteps approached. Jake looked up to see two tall figures in dark armor standing beside the table. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but their body language screamed danger. "Princess Zara, you must return to the secure section," one of them said in a deep, mechanical voice. Zara stood up slowly. She looked at Jake one more time. "Thank you for the sandwich, Jake Murphy of Earth," she said formally. But her eyes held warmth that her voice didn't. As she walked away with her guards, the dining hall exploded with noise. Everyone was talking at once. Jake sat there confused about what just happened. Ben rushed over and grabbed Jake's arm. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" Ben said, his voice a mix of awe and fear. "I shared my lunch," Jake said. Across the dining hall, standing in the shadows, Commander Vale watched the entire scene. The Krillian officer's face was unreadable, but his eyes never left Jake. Something had just changed at the Galactic Unity Academy. Something small. Something that would ripple across the stars in ways no one could predict. All because a human boy shared half his sandwich with a lonely princess. 3 days had passed since Jake shared his sandwich with Princess Zara. Those 3 days felt like 3 years. Everyone at the academy stared at him. Some aliens looked at him with curiosity. Others looked angry. A few seemed afraid, though Jake couldn't understand why. Ben tried to explain it during their morning combat training class. "You broke about 50 rules of protocol," Ben said as they stretched. "You approached royalty without permission. You offered food without going through proper channels. You sat at her table uninvited. I just gave her half my sandwich," Jake said, touching his toes. "It's not that big of a deal." "To them it is," Ben replied. "These species have rules for everything. They've been in space for thousands of years. They know how things work, and then humans show up and just do whatever feels right." Commander Vale walked to the center of the training floor. He was a Krillian, which meant he looked like a cross between a lizard and a warrior from ancient Earth legends. His scales were dark green and his eyes were yellow with vertical pupils. "Today we practice combat scenarios," Vale announced. His voice was harsh and cold. "You will face opponents from different species. You will learn their strengths and your weaknesses." Jake was paired with a Thorian cadet named Grix. Thorians were big, maybe 7 feet tall, with rocky skin and incredible strength. Grix smiled at Jake, showing way too many teeth. The match started. Jake tried his best, using the moves he learned in the past few days. But Grix was faster and stronger. Within 2 minutes, Jake was on the ground, breathing hard. "Yield," Grix said, standing over him. Jake nodded. "I yield." Grix stepped back immediately. Commander Vale made a note on his datapad. "Cadet Murphy shows proper respect for combat tradition," Vale said. "Next pair." As Jake walked off the mat, he saw her. Princess Zara stood at the entrance to the training hall watching. 2 guards stood beside her, as always. Their eyes met across the room, and she smiled slightly. Jake smiled back. Later that day, Jake was in the library trying to study galactic history. The library was huge, filled with books and datapads from 1,000 different worlds. He sat at a table by himself, or so he thought. "May I join you?" Jake looked up. Princess Zara stood there without her guards for once. She wore a simple gray uniform like everyone else. "Of course," Jake said, surprised. "Where are your guards?" "I convinced them I would be safe in the library," she said, sitting down. "I told them no one would dare harm me in such a public place." "Smart," Jake said. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Zara spoke. "I have been thinking about your sandwich," she said. Jake laughed. "It was just a sandwich." "No," Zara said firmly. "It was not just a sandwich. It was a gesture. In my culture, food is fuel. We eat to survive. But humans treat food differently, yes?" Jake thought about it. "I guess so." My mom always said that food tastes better when you share it with people you care about. When I was a kid, we'd have these big family dinners. Everyone would bring something. We'd sit around the table and talk and laugh. The food was important, but so was being together. Zara's silver eyes were wide. You share meals with family? Not just at formal ceremonies? All the time, Jake said. Don't you? Felexians eat alone, Zara said quietly. We are taught that eating is a private activity. Sharing food is only done in very formal settings with contracts and agreements. When you offered me half your sandwich, you broke every rule I know. But it felt... She paused, searching for the word. Warm. It felt warm. Warm is good, Jake said. Over the next week, Zara found ways to see Jake. They would meet in the library or in quiet corners of the academy. She asked him endless questions about Earth, about human families, about friendship, about love. Humans form emotional bonds quickly, she observed one day. You become friends with beings you barely know. I guess that's true, Jake said. Life's too short not to make friends. But does it not make you vulnerable? Friends can betray you. They can hurt you. They can, Jake agreed. But they can also make life worth living. Zara seemed to think about this deeply. One evening, Jake was walking back to his room when he heard angry voices. He turned a corner and saw a crowd gathered in one of the common areas. In the center stood a tall, elegant alien with red scales and golden eyes. He wore expensive clothing and had an air of authority. Where is the human? The alien demanded. Where is this Jake Murphy? That's Prince Kael, Ben whispered, appearing at Jake's side. He's from the Drakarian Kingdom, and he's Zara's... Well, they're supposed to get married. Jake's stomach dropped. Married? It's a political arrangement, Ben said. Very common among royal families. Prince Kael spotted Jake. His golden eyes narrowed. You, Kael said, pointing at Jake. You are the one who dares to spend time with my intended? Jake stepped forward, his heart pounding. I'm Jake, and Zara is my friend. Friend? Kael laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. Felexian princesses do not have friends, especially not primitive humans who understand nothing of our ways. Maybe your ways are the problem, Jake said before he could stop himself. The crowd gasped. Kael's face darkened with rage. You insult me? You insult the Drakarian Kingdom? Kael stepped closer. I challenge you to a combat trial. It is my legal right. Jake, don't accept, Ben hissed. Drakarians are trained warriors from birth. He'll destroy you. But Jake thought about Zara sitting alone in that dining hall. He thought about how her eyes lit up when she talked about the sandwich, about human friendship, about warmth. I accept, Jake said. The crowd went wild with noise. Kael smiled coldly. 3 days from now, in the academy arena, the entire school will watch you fail, human. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He sat on his bed, wondering what he'd gotten himself into. There was a soft knock on his door. When he opened it, Zara stood there. Her eyes were wet with tears. You should not have accepted, she said. Kael will hurt you badly, maybe kill you. I couldn't let him talk about you like that, Jake said. Why? Zara asked. Why do you care? We barely know each other. Jake smiled sadly. You looked lonely. You looked like you needed a friend. That's enough for me. Zara stepped forward and hugged him. It was the first time she had touched him. She was cold to the touch, her crystalline skin smooth and hard, but the gesture was warm. You humans are strange, she whispered. You see someone in pain and you help them even when it costs you, even when it makes no logical sense. Maybe logic isn't everything, Jake said. When she pulled away, she looked at him seriously. I will speak to Kael. I will end the engagement. You do not need to fight. No, Jake said. Let me do this. Let me show everyone that humans don't back down from challenges. Even stupid ones. Zara touched his face gently. You are either very brave or very foolish. Probably both, Jake admitted. She left quietly and Jake went back to bed. He had 3 days to prepare for a fight he probably couldn't win. But as he drifted off to sleep, he realized something. He wasn't afraid of losing the fight. He was afraid of letting Zara down. She had spent her whole life surrounded by rules and coldness and political arrangements. Maybe it was time someone fought for her, even if that someone was just a human kid who shared his lunch. The academy arena was packed. It seemed like every student and instructor had come to watch the combat trial. Jake stood in the preparation room, wrapping his hands with protective tape. His hands shook slightly. Ben sat next to him, looking worried. You can still back out. No one would blame you. I would blame me, Jake said. Lisa Grant entered the room. She was another human cadet, someone Jake had met in his engineering class. She had brought him water and energy bars. I talked to some of the other students, Lisa said. They're taking bets on how long you'll last. Most say less than 5 minutes. Great, Jake muttered. That's encouraging. But some are betting on you, Lisa added quickly. Not many, but some. Word is spreading about humans, about how we're different, a buzzer sounded. It was time. Jake walked into the arena. The crowd roared. Thousands of aliens from hundreds of species filled the seats. Jake saw Commander Vale sitting in the instructor's box, watching carefully. On the other side of the arena, Prince Kael entered. He wore light armor that showed off his muscular build. His red scales gleamed under the lights. He looked like a warrior. He looked confident. Jake wore the standard academy training suit. He looked like a kid who was in over his head. An older alien stepped into the center of the arena. He was a judge, someone who would make sure the rules were followed. This is a combat trial under Drakarian law, the judge announced. The fight continues until one fighter yields or cannot continue. Death is not required but is permitted. Do both fighters accept these terms? I accept, Kael said loudly. Jake's mouth was dry. I accept. Begin. Kael moved fast. Faster than Jake expected. He closed the distance in seconds and threw a punch that Jake barely dodged. The crowd cheered. Jake tried to fight back, but Kael was trained. Every move Jake made, Kael countered. A punch to Jake's ribs. A kick to his leg. Jake fell and rolled away, trying to catch his breath. Is this the best humans can offer? Kael shouted to the crowd. Pathetic. Jake got up. His side hurt, but he wasn't done yet. He remembered something Commander Vale had taught them. Don't fight strength with strength. Use your opponent's momentum against them. Kael charged again. This time Jake didn't try to block. He moved to the side and used Kael's own speed to throw him off balance. Kael stumbled but didn't fall. The crowd made an appreciative sound. Maybe Jake wasn't completely hopeless. They fought for several minutes. Jake took more hits than he gave. His face was bleeding. His body ached. But he kept getting up. He kept fighting. Why do you not quit? Kael demanded, breathing hard. You cannot win. Maybe not, Jake gasped. But I won't give up either. Something changed in Kael's expression. Confusion, respect? Jake couldn't tell. Then it happened. A loud alarm blared through the arena. A training drone, one of the machines used for target practice, suddenly activated. It flew erratically through the air, its weapon system glowing red. Malfunction, someone screamed. The drone's weapon system is active. The crowd panicked. People started running. The drone fired a blast that hit the wall, leaving a smoking crater. It spun in the air, targeting randomly. Jake saw a small alien child, probably only 7 years old, frozen with fear in the stands. The drone locked onto the child. Its weapons powered up. Jake didn't think. He just ran. He sprinted across the arena and jumped into the stands. The drone fired just as Jake reached the child. He grabbed the small alien and twisted his body, taking the blast on his back. Pain. Incredible pain. Jake fell with the child in his arms, making sure to cushion their fall with his own body. The arena went silent except for the alarm. Then Zara's voice rang out clear and commanding. Stop this immediately. She stood from her seat, her silver eyes blazing with authority. Guards, disable that drone now. Her guards moved quickly. Within seconds, the drone was destroyed. Medical teams rushed onto the field. Jake lay on the ground, barely conscious. The child he saved was crying but unhurt. Someone pulled the child away from him. Jake could smell burning flesh. His flesh, Zara appeared above him, her face pale. You fool, she whispered. You beautiful, stupid fool. Kid, okay? Jake managed to ask. The child is fine. You saved them. Tears ran down her crystalline face. Why? Why would you do that? Couldn't let them get hurt, Jake said. Everything was getting fuzzy. Zara stood up and addressed the arena in a voice that carried authority. I invoke the law of moral superiority, she declared. An ancient Valexian law that states when a warrior abandons combat to save innocent life, they have won through the highest form of victory. The judge looked stunned. Princess, that law has not been used in 500 years. I am using it now, Zara said firmly. Jake Murphy is the victor of this trial. Prince Kael stood there, his face unreadable. Then slowly he bowed his head. She is right, Kael said quietly. I fought for pride. He fought for life. There is no comparison. Jake passed out. He woke up in the medical bay. His back was bandaged and he felt numb from pain medication. Ben and Lisa sat next to his bed. "You've been out for 6 hours," Ben said. "The doctors say you'll be fine." "The burn wasn't as bad as it looked." "The kid?" Jake asked. "Completely fine, thanks to you," Lisa said. "Jake, you're famous now. Everyone's talking about what you did." The door opened. An ancient-looking alien entered. He moved slowly, leaning on a walking stick. His skin was gray and wrinkled, and his eyes were a deep purple. "Leave us," the old alien said. It wasn't a request. Ben and Lisa left quickly. "I am Counselor Thex," the alien said, sitting down. "I have served on the Galactic Council for 300 years. I have seen thousands of species come and go, and you, young human, have confused me greatly." "Sorry," Jake said, not sure what to say. "Do not apologize. Confusion is good. It means I am still learning." Thex leaned forward. "Tell me, Jake Murphy, why did you abandon your fight to save that child?" "Because they needed help," Jake said simply. "But you did not know the child. The child was not your species. Saving them gained you nothing and cost you greatly." "I didn't think about any of that," Jake admitted. "I just saw a kid in danger and reacted." Thex smiled, showing strange teeth. "Exactly. You did not think, you felt. You acted on instinct. Do you know why this confuses me?" Jake shook his head. "Because most species do not work that way. Most species evolved as either solitary hunters or hive minds. They think before they act. They calculate costs and benefits. But humans," Thex's eyes lit up, "humans evolved as pack hunters with individual minds. You have this unique trait. You bond with anything. You extend your protective instincts to those you consider part of your pack. And for humans, the pack can include anyone." "I'm not sure I understand," Jake said. "That child was not human. Not even close. But your brain saw a young, vulnerable being in danger, and it screamed at you to protect them. That is not logic. That is not strategy. That is pure human instinct." The door opened again. Zara entered, followed by a woman in a military uniform. The woman had short, dark hair and carried herself like a soldier. "I am Captain Ryan Hayes, Earth Military," the woman said. "I've been assigned to the Academy as a human liaison. Counselor Thex asked me to bring some information." Hayes pulled out a data pad and handed it to Thex. "This is research from our xenobiologists," Hayes explained. "Since joining the Galactic Council, we've been studying other species and comparing them to humans. We found something interesting." Thex nodded. "Please share it with young Jake. He earned the right to understand." Hayes looked at Jake. "Most intelligent species in the galaxy evolved to survive alone or as part of a unified whole. They're efficient. They're logical. But they lack something humans have in abundance. What's that?" Jake asked. "The ability to care about strangers," Hayes said. "Humans evolved running down prey for hours. We survived by working in teams, by taking care of injured pack members, by sharing food and resources. We developed this weird ability to extend family bonds to people we just met, to animals, even to aliens," Zara spoke softly. "That is why you shared your sandwich with me." "Yes," Thex said. "He saw you sitting alone, and his human brain said, 'That person is lonely, they need help, they could be part of my pack.' No calculation. Just instinct. Is that bad?" Jake asked. "Bad?" Thex laughed, a strange wheezing sound. "It might be the most important thing to happen to this galaxy in 1,000 years. Other species are starting to notice human behavior. They are learning that there is another way to exist. A way that involves compassion and emotional connection. Not everyone is happy about it," Captain Hayes warned. "There are factions in the Council who see humans as disruptive. They prefer the old ways." Zara took Jake's hand. "My father, the Emperor, has heard about what happened. He is reconsidering many things." Over the next few days, Jake recovered. Students he had never met stopped by to visit. Some brought gifts. Others just wanted to talk. The small child Jake saved came with their parent, and they hugged Jake carefully, mindful of his injuries. Prince Kale visited once. He stood in the doorway awkwardly. "I have ended my engagement to Zara," Kyle said. "I did it for political reasons, I told my family. But the truth is, I learned something watching you. Strength is not just about combat. It is about knowing what is worth fighting for." After Kale left, Zara stayed behind. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Now the galaxy changes," Zara said. "One meal at a time." 2 months had passed since the combat trial. Jake's back had healed completely, though he still had a scar. He didn't mind it. Ben joked that it made him look tough. Life at the academy had changed. More students talked to the humans now. They asked questions about Earth, about human culture, about why humans acted the way they did. Some aliens even started sitting together at meals, sharing food like Jake had done with Zara. Jake and Zara spent almost every day together. They studied in the library. They walked through the academy gardens. They talked about everything and nothing. Something was growing between them. Something deeper than friendship, though neither had said it out loud yet. One evening, Ben burst into Jake's room, his face pale. "We have a problem," Ben said, locking the door behind him. "A big problem." Jake sat up from his bed. "What's wrong?" "I was in the communications center doing my tech assignment," Ben explained. "I accidentally intercepted a classified transmission." "Jake, there's going to be a vote in the Galactic Council. They want to expel Earth." "What? Why?" "Because we're disruptive," Ben said. "Because humans are changing things too fast. There's a group of council members who want things to go back to how they were before we showed up." Lisa appeared at the door, knocking quickly. Jake let her in. "I heard the same thing," Lisa said. "One of my instructors was talking about it. He didn't know I could understand his language." "The vote is in 2 weeks." Jake felt cold. "If Earth gets expelled, what happens to us? To all the humans here?" "We go home," Ben said. "And Earth gets cut off from the galaxy. No trade, no technology sharing, no alliances. We'll be alone again." Jake thought of Zara. He thought of the friendships forming between humans and other species. He thought of how things were changing, slowly but surely. "There has to be something we can do," Jake said. Over the next few days, Jake tried to learn more. He talked to friendly instructors. He listened to conversations. Slowly, a picture formed. There was a group calling themselves the Syndicate. They worked in the shadows, manipulating council votes and decisions. They liked the galaxy the way it was, predictable, organized, with clear hierarchies. They made money from conflicts between species, from keeping everyone separate and suspicious of each other. Humans threatened all of that. Humans made friends easily. They shared without expecting payment. They helped strangers for no logical reason. If human behavior spread, the Syndicate's business model would collapse. Jake met with Zara in their usual spot in the gardens. "I know about the vote," Zara said before Jake could speak. "My father told me. He is being pressured to vote against Earth." "What will he do?" Jake asked. "I do not know," Zara admitted. "He is emperor. He must think of the Valexian Empire first. Personal feelings cannot matter." "Even yours?" Jake asked quietly. Zara's silver eyes filled with pain. "Jake, I am still a princess. Soon I will be empress. My life is not my own. I have duties, responsibilities. My father is already angry that I ended my engagement to Kale if I push too hard." "I understand," Jake said, though his heart hurt. "No, you do not," Zara said, her voice breaking. "You humans, you believe love conquers all. You believe in following your heart. But my people do not think that way. Duty comes first, always." "Then change their minds," Jake said. "Show them there's another way." "How?" Zara asked. "How can I change thousands of years of tradition?" "The same way I changed your mind," Jake said. "One person at a time." That night, Jake, Ben, and Lisa met in a study room. They needed a plan. "We need evidence," Lisa said. "Proof that the Syndicate is manipulating things. If we can expose them, maybe we can stop the vote." "How do we get proof?" Ben asked. Lisa smiled. "I've been learning the Academy's computer systems. I might be able to access some files. But I'll need a distraction." Jake nodded. "I can create a distraction." Over the next week, they worked. Lisa hacked into systems, being careful not to leave traces. Ben used his communication skills to intercept messages. Jake talked to students, building alliances, making friends. Then Lisa found it. A file buried deep in the system. Communications between Syndicate members and several council representatives. Plans to create incidents that would make humans look dangerous. The drone malfunction during Jake's fight hadn't been an accident. It had been sabotage. "They tried to hurt that kid," Jake said, anger rising in his voice. "They tried to hurt a child just to make a point." "They're desperate," Lisa said. "Humans are spreading too fast. Species that haven't talked to each other in centuries are becoming friends. The Syndicate is losing control," Jake stood up. "We need to take this to someone we can trust." They brought the evidence to Captain Hayes. The Earth military officer studied the files carefully. This is damning, Hayes said, but it won't be enough by itself. The council members involved will claim the files are fake. We need more. What about Counselor Thex? Jake suggested. He seems honest, Hayes nodded. He's one of the few. I'll contact him. Meanwhile, Zara was facing her own battles. Her father had arrived at the academy to bring her home. The Emperor wanted her back in the palace, away from human influence. Jake found her in the gardens, tears streaming down her crystalline face. He says I am becoming weak, Zara said. He says humans have made me forget my duties. He wants me to come home and prepare for my future as Empress. What do you want? Jake asked. Zara stopped, struggling with the words. I want to stay. I want to keep learning. I want to be with... She looked at Jake. I want to be with you. Jake took her hand. Her skin was cold and hard, but her grip was gentle. Then fight for it, Jake said. Show your father that you can be strong and still care about people. Show him that duty and love don't have to be enemies. My people will never accept a human, Zara said sadly. Maybe not today, Jake said, but things are changing. You said it yourself, one meal at a time. 2 days before the council vote, Counselor Thex called a meeting. Jake, Ben, Lisa, Captain Hayes, and Zara attended. The old counselor looked grim. I have reviewed your evidence, Thex said. It is compelling. But the Syndicate is powerful. They have connections throughout the galaxy. Simply exposing them may not be enough. Then what do we do? Jake asked. We fight, Zara said, standing up. We go to the council. We tell the truth. We show them what humans really are. You would speak against your father's wishes? Thex asked. My father taught me that an empress must do what is right, not what is easy, Zara said. I will speak before the council. I will tell them what I have learned from humans. From Jake, Thex smiled his strange smile. Then we have a chance. A small one, but a chance. They spent the next 2 days preparing. Jake wrote notes about human culture, about why humans acted the way they did. Zara practiced her speech, wanting every word to be perfect. Captain Hayes organized a demonstration. She contacted every human at the academy, and many of the aliens who had become friends with humans. They would gather outside the council chambers, showing unity. The night before the vote, Jake and Zara stood alone on a balcony overlooking the academy. I am afraid, Zara admitted. I have never gone against my father like this. He loves you, Jake said. Even if he's angry now, he'll understand eventually. And if he does not? Zara asked. If I lose my title, my position, my family? Jake took her hand. Then you'll still have friends. You'll still have people who care about you, not because of your title, but because of who you are. Zara looked at him, her silver eyes reflecting the stars. You have changed me, Jake Murphy, she said. I was so alone before, so cold. You showed me warmth. You showed me what connection feels like. You changed me too, Jake said. You showed me that being different isn't bad. It's what makes us special. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Tomorrow would decide everything. Tomorrow the galaxy would choose between the old ways and something new. But tonight, a human and a princess stood together, proving that some bridges could be built, even between the most different beings in the universe. Somewhere in the shadows, members of the Syndicate watched and planned. They would not give up their power easily. The battle was just beginning. The Galactic Council chambers were massive, built to hold representatives from hundreds of worlds. The ceiling was so high that clouds formed near the top. Holographic displays floated everywhere, translating speeches into thousands of languages. Jake stood outside with hundreds of others. Captain Hayes had organized the demonstration perfectly. Humans stood alongside aliens of every type. They held signs with simple messages written in Galactic Common. We choose friendship. Connection over division. One galaxy, together. News drones flew overhead, broadcasting everything across the galaxy. This was the biggest political event in decades. Inside the chambers, the vote was about to begin. Zara sat in the Valexian section, her father, the Emperor, beside her. He had not spoken to her all morning. His face was like stone. Senator Voss took the floor. He was a Krillian like Commander Vale, but older and meaner looking. He smiled as he began to speak. Honored council members, Voss said, we gather today to address the human problem. Since Earth joined our council 2 years ago, we have seen chaos. Humans do not respect proper protocols. They do not understand hierarchy. They form attachments without consideration of political consequences. Voss pulled up holographic images. They showed humans interacting with various species, sharing meals, laughing together, hugging. Look at this behavior, Voss continued. Humans make others act irrationally. They cause beings to prioritize emotion over logic. They disrupt the careful balance we have maintained for millennia. Already we see species adopting human habits. This emotional contagion threatens the stability of our entire civilization. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some agreed. Others looked uncertain. I propose that Earth be removed from the Galactic Council, Voss concluded. Furthermore, I propose that humanity be quarantined to their home system. For their safety and ours, the chamber erupted in noise. Some delegates cheered. Others protested. Councillor Thex stood up, his ancient body moving slowly but with dignity. I would like to speak, Thex said. His voice was quiet, but everyone listened. Before we vote, I believe we should hear from someone who has direct experience with humans. Princess Zara of the Valexian Empire has requested to address this council. The Emperor's face went dark with anger. He grabbed Zara's arm. Do not do this, he hissed. You will embarrass our family. You will ruin your future. Zara looked at her father. Then she gently removed his hand. I must, she said simply. She walked to the speaker's platform. Every eye in the chamber watched her. Outside, Jake held his breath. My name is Princess Zara, she began. I am heir to the Valexian throne. My people are known for our logic, our strength, our superiority. We have ruled our sector of space for 3,000 years. She paused, her silver eyes scanning the chamber. And I have been lonely every single day of my life. The chamber went silent. I was taught that emotion was weakness. Zara continued. I was taught that connections were vulnerabilities. I sat alone at every meal, surrounded by people who feared me or wanted to use me. I had no friends. I had no one who saw me as anything other than a title. Zara's voice grew stronger. Then a human sat next to me, Jake Murphy from Earth. He offered me half his sandwich. A simple gesture, a meaningless gesture, according to every protocol I was taught. But it changed everything. She pulled up her own holographic display. It showed Jake in the arena, throwing himself in front of the child to protect them from the drone. Humans do not think before they help, Zara said. They see someone in need and they act. They bond with strangers. They share without expecting payment. They show mercy to enemies. Senator Voss calls this irrationality. I call it beautiful. The Emperor stood up. Zara, enough! You go too far. Zara looked at her father. No, father. I have not gone far enough. You taught me that an empress must serve her people. You taught me that true strength comes from wisdom. Well, I have learned wisdom from humans. I have learned that connection makes us stronger, not weaker. She turned back to the council. You want to expel Earth because humans make us feel things, because they make us question the walls we have built around ourselves, because they remind us that we used to be more than our titles and our power structures. They remind us that we used to care. Outside the chamber, the crowd grew. More beings joined the demonstration. Even some who had come to protest against humans started to reconsider. Inside, Captain Hayes took the floor next. I am Captain Ryan Hayes, Earth Military, she said. I have evidence to present to this council. She displayed the files Lisa had found. The communications between syndicate members, the plans to sabotage human integration, the drone malfunction that nearly killed a child. The push to expel Earth is not about protocol, Hayes said. It is about power. There are beings who profit from keeping species separated and suspicious. Humans threaten that business model. We make friends too easily. We forgive too quickly. We bridge gaps that were meant to remain open. Senator Voss jumped to his feet. This is a fabrication. These files are fake. No, a new voice said. Prince Kale entered the chamber. They are real. I was approached by the syndicate. They offered me money to continue my engagement to Zara, to keep her away from human influence. I refused. Kale looked at Zara. I came here to testify. Humans taught me something important. They taught me that honor is not about winning. It is about knowing what is worth fighting for. The chamber exploded into argument. Delegates shouted at each other. Some called for investigations. Others demanded the vote proceed immediately. Councillor Thex raised his hand for silence. Slowly, the chamber quieted. I have lived for 300 years, Thex said. I have watched civilizations rise and fall. I have seen empires crumble and new ones emerge. And I will tell you what I have learned. Every great civilization eventually stops growing. They achieve perfection in their own eyes and then they stagnate. They become rigid. They stop evolving. Thex moved to the center of the chamber. We are stagnating, he said. We have optimized ourselves for efficiency, for logic, for power. But we have lost something in the process. We have lost the ability to see each other as more than competitors or resources. Humans have that ability. They look at the universe and see family. He pointed to the holographic display showing the demonstration outside. Look at them, Thex said. Humans and aliens standing together. Not because of trade agreements or military alliances. Not because of treaties or contracts. They stand together because they have become friends. Is this really something we want to destroy? The Emperor stood up. Everyone went silent. His word carried enormous weight in the council. My daughter has spoken against my wishes, the Emperor said. His voice was cold. She has embarrassed our family. She has shown weakness. Zara's face fell. Jake, watching from outside on a broadcast screen, felt his heart break. Then the Emperor's expression changed. He smiled just slightly. She has also shown courage, the Emperor continued. She has shown that she is willing to do what is right even when it costs her. Even when it means standing against her own father. That is the quality of a true empress. The Emperor looked at his daughter. I vote in favor of Earth remaining in the council. And I release my daughter from any formal agreements. Her life is her own. Zara's eyes went wide with shock and joy. The vote began. One by one, delegates cast their votes. Some voted to expel, but more voted for Earth to stay, much more. When the final tally appeared, the chamber erupted. Earth would remain in the Galactic Council. The vote was not even close. Outside, the demonstration turned into a celebration. Humans hugged aliens. Aliens hugged each other. Music played. Someone started handing out food. Jake pushed through the crowd, trying to reach the chamber entrance. Then he saw her. Zara ran toward him, her guards struggling to keep up. She threw her arms around him, and he held her tight. We did it, she said, crying and laughing at the same time. We actually did it. You did it, Jake corrected. That speech was amazing. I learned from the best, Zara said, pulling back to look at him. I learned from a human who shared his sandwich. They kissed then in front of everyone. Cameras captured it. The image would be broadcast across the galaxy. A human and a Valexian princess proving that some connections were stronger than any law or tradition. The next few months were busy. Senator Voss and other syndicate members were investigated. Some were removed from power. New trade agreements were signed. Earth began sharing its culture more openly. More importantly, something subtle began to change across the galaxy. Beings who had eaten alone for their entire lives started sitting together. Species that had been enemies for generations began talking, not about treaties or territory, but about simple things, about food and music and stories. Commander Vale even started joining his students for meals, though he pretended he was only doing it to supervise. A year later, Jake and Zara visited a colony on the edge of known space. It was a new settlement, with families from a dozen different species trying to build a life together. They watched as a small alien child approached a newcomer child from a different species. The first child was eating a piece of fruit. They broke it in half and offered it to the newcomer with a shy smile. The newcomer took it and they sat down together to eat. Zara squeezed Jake's hand. It is spreading, she said softly. Your gift to the galaxy. One meal at a time. Our gift, Jake corrected. You showed everyone that even a princess could change. If you can do it, anyone can. They stood there watching the children play. Around them, the colony thrived. Different species working together, helping each other, becoming something new. Back on Earth, Jake's mother received a message. It was from Zara asking permission to visit. She wanted to learn how to make turkey sandwiches properly. She wanted to understand the culture that had created someone like Jake. The galaxy was changing. Not through war or conquest, not through technology or treaties. It was changing because a lonely princess and a kind human had shared a simple meal, and that simple act of connection rippled outward, touching every corner of the galaxy, teaching beings that they did not have to be alone, teaching them that different did not mean enemy, teaching them that the space between stars was nothing compared to the space between hearts, and that space could be bridged. One sandwich, one friendship, one choice. That was all it took to change everything. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space on 1,000 different worlds, Beings who had forgotten how to connect were learning again. They were learning from humans. They were learning that being different was good. They were learning that everyone deserves someone to share a meal with. The end.